Kentaro Nagi is a pretty cool guy. I don't think anyone who's played a lot of X is going to deny that, but at the same time, even though he gets a ton of credit from people, he still isn't given as much as he deserves. So today, I'd like to explain why he deserves more, pretty much. This will require spoilers for the entire main story, as well as Nagi's 2 Affinity Missions. Before hopping into my usual fare of talking about things like his personality or his actions, I'm going to do something I almost never do on this channel, and talk about him from a gameplay perspective, because, well, I'm not going to go over builds and stuff, because that's far out of my league. He is pretty special there, too, unique from a lot of the other party members. First off, if you unlock your party members the instant they become available, he is, I believe, the third to last you can get, the only two after him being Celica and then Mia, the latter of which needs you to have beaten the game and pretty much 100%ed it already, and the former of which just requires a couple more story chapters. Nagi needs Chapter 8 and Level 32 in order to unlock. While obviously he has a very good reason for not joining you immediately at the beginning of the game, I do feel like, story-wise, it would have still made sense if his joining was moved up a couple chapters, which speaks to me that they definitely did this for balancing purposes, and by golly they did, because the 2 arts you get are 2 of the best in the game. First off, you get True Stream Edge, which is a longsword art, because Nagi uses longswords, specifically a katana, even though regular Stream Edge is a dual swords art, so I guess the true one is a longsword thing, because Shulk Stream Edge is with the longsword, I don't know. But, True Stream Edge is an AoE attack. It is a 5-hit attack. It increases your TP if you have morale. This is very good for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is building up overdrive counter and gaining yourself TP so that you could just overdrive again out of your overdrive. The second one, though, is even better. Like Dunban before him, this grizzled old badass with a katana is packing Blossom Dance. And yeah, Dunban's is pretty good, especially good in chain attacks. Nagi's is quite possibly the best art in X. It is a TP art, but longsword gains TP very fast, especially if you have things like, you know, True Stream Edge, the one that you've already learned by the time you're getting Blossom Dance. It hits 6 times, inflicts stagger. Okay, sure, that's whatever. And it nullifies attribute resistances. If an enemy has a positive resistance to the damage attribute of your weapon, it's counted as 0. That is ridiculous. Now, well, yeah, if it has a weakness to your weapon attribute, it will do less damage, but keep in mind, it's a longsword art, which means you also have access to offensive stance, which boosts your melee damage even more. And then if you overdrive and use things like True Stream Edge and then a bunch of green arts and stuff to get your counter up and then gain more TP, and then you use Blossom Dance, there's a reason Ether Blossom was considered the only top-level build for doing things really fast and really efficiently for like a year after the game came out. Now that's just what he gives you, but what about Nagi himself? While obviously him being another party member, not Cross, he is a lot more limited in what he can do, and can't do a lot of the broken things you can do with the arts he gives you, but he is special among party members. He has 5 skill slots, which, keep in mind, he's a Duelist Plus, which basically means he gets a few arts and skills that a regular duelist wouldn't get, but are from the same class tree. And then he also has Gatling guns and Gatling gun arts instead of assault rifle stuff. But he has 5 skill slots. Regular duelist does not have 5 skill slots. The only class that does is Drifter, the default class. And a lot of people tend to use Drifter as the class for their final endgame build, because while being in something belonging to a class tree might give you a small stat buff, in general, the extra 1 to 2 skill slots Drifter gives you over a class that's a tier 4, which only have 3 or 4, tends to outweigh the benefit of having slightly higher stats in a couple areas. Nagi gets those stats and 5 skill slots. Obviously, he has a much smaller pool of skills, but it's still very special. And to top that all off, he has a signature weapon. Pretty much every other party member will come packing some standard issue Sakuraba weaponry as well as their own signature bodywear, which is basically their normal clothing. Nagi gets Nagi's bodywear, and he looks cool, but his melee weapon is also something very special. He was the captain of the White Whale. We'll talk about that and what that means for him later. But also, I'm pretty sure it's a thing where the captains of ships in the Japanese Navy still, like, have a sword with them or something, just as a ceremonial piece. Nagi's sword is not ceremonial, because he's packing Signature Glaive Fledgling. Japan, being Japan, is extremely biased towards katanas, so there are 7 unique katana longswords. They all use variations of the same model, but they are somewhat special for various reasons. Nagi's is the weakest, Signature Glaive Fledgling. There's also Signature Glaive Four Virtues, Ethereal Glaive Helldragon, Bewitched Glaive Blood Dance, Signature Glaive Allegiance, Mighty Glaive Galaxy Chief, and Bewitched Glaive Receding Rust, which is the most famous one because it was used in the Big Ether Blossom build for a while. While Fledgling is the weakest one, it is the only one that doesn't drop from a Tyrant, which means it's the only one humans made, and is quite possibly, in universe, some sort of mighty super weapon sword thing that Nagi was gifted, or he used it as a ceremonial blade and just kind of is choosing to use it because he's trained with it and he's really good at stuff. I don't know why he uses it, but it's there for the cool factor, and it is pretty cool. As I mentioned before, Nagi was the captain of the White Whale, and after NLA was formed, after landing on Mira and the provisional government was made, he was given the position of Secretary of Defense. Now, since he was captain of a wartime vessel and made Secretary of Defense, I'm fairly certain he held some pretty high-ranking military position beforehand. I would guess something naval-related, because Starship Navy somewhat of an analog. I think TV Trope said he was a Brigadier General, but I found no source for that. I didn't remember that ever being mentioned in the game. Vandam calls himself one at some point, but that was never associated with Nagi as far as I know, so jury's out on that one. I didn't comb through every little bit of text related to Nagi for this video. Beyond that much, what can be guessed, we're not given any information about Nagi's backstory, and out of the big 3 of NLA, Shosan is really the only one to get anything significant, and that is one side quest and a bunch of possibly non-canon scrapped concept content in the art book. What we do know, though, is that he's 57 years old when the game takes place, which means he was born around 1997, which would actually only make him 2 years older than me. So he obviously would have lived through modern times, which for the most part were about the same as they were. The timeline only really diverges at around 2024, because that is 30 years before the game when Elma first visits. His name and appearance suggest that he's Japanese, although we have no real way of knowing whether he was born there, lived there, became a member of the military there, and then joined the ECP in Project Exodus, whether he moved to the US at some point and got affiliated with people around LA when they were making that ARC ship, or if he was just Japanese American to begin with. So, as you could see, anything about Nagi's life before the impact of the White Whale into the surface of Mira is a complete mystery, so we can really only judge him on what we know that we see in the game. Obviously, if you've made it this far, you probably already know that his tough, upper lip, hard-ass secretary who doesn't do anything is a complete front, and he's actually a much friendlier and much more active person than you know at first glance. But we could sort of see that from the beginning. Pretty much his first line is talking to Lynn on her level. Obviously, he has to respect her intelligence, because, you know, she's a genius, but he's also still talking to a 13-year-old girl as if she's his equal. And this persists for a lot of the game. He supports her in a lot of her endeavors. But obviously, the most important part is in his Affinity Missions. The first one is entitled Nagi's Time, which is really the first time we get to see the facade crack and see him for the thoughtful, caring for every blade under his command person that he really is. Nagi goes out to inspect a lifehold piece that was found in Primordia that is so obviously there you'll probably find it by accident long before you ever gain the ability to take this Affinity mission, but shut up. He goes with a team of Harriers as personal bodyguard, and gets attacked by the Ganglion. Every single Harrier falls protecting him, but Nagi, being Nagi, just completely destroys all of them, Skells included. When Team Elma talks to him, he says that he would have never let this happen. It's really unknown who this is referring to, because we don't really find out about anyone in his past that he might have connections to, although it could be a father or other person whose footsteps he followed in joining the military or whatever. Or it could be the nameless hero who fought with Elma in the tandem Ares Skell in order to protect the White Whale. It seems somewhat likely that that's the case, where that guy was Earth's hero, basically, who was in charge of defense-related stuff on the Whale, and then Nagi, being the ship's captain, was just promoted up as the next person in line. And that makes a bit of sense to me, although who knows what it's actually referring to. The really big thing, though, at least to me, is when he picks up the dog tags of the team of Harriers who went to protect him and gave their lives for him, and promises to hold on to them until they're revived once the Lifehold is found. He's not willing to forget anyone, not a single person who sacrificed their life for him, and this is war. A lot of people are going to end up doing that, and that speaks very profoundly for who he is. Despite being a leader in charge of probably still a few thousand people, even with the small population NLA has, he cares about each single person individually, and that makes things all the harder when the truth about the Lifehold Core is revealed in Chapter 12. This drive to stop at nothing to prevent more soldiers under him from dying comes to a head in the next mission, Reporting for Duty, where Nagi goes on a super revenge-filled storm of revenge after finding out that a couple groups got taken in by the Ganglion in Sylvalum. And it's from this that we get the best cutscene in the game, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be offensive stance or the only appearance of Overdrive in the main story, but Nagi just kind of solos a room of Marnux without any effort, instantly rescuing the one blade that's still alive. Earlier on, he claims that he takes blade missions both to hone his skills, because he's rusty having a desk job and being old, and also as a form of stress relief, and after the Harrier team died, he got pretty stressed. Killing that room of Marnux, taking revenge for the other people who died, and saving the last one remaining, was finally relieving that from him, and he's finally able to think a bit clearer. He even got reprimanded by Elma before for wanting to just rush straight in instead of having a good stealthy plan. And after that, he actually refuses to take any credit for his role in the mission, even though it was a very important one. Also, keep in mind, that cutscene is the best one in the game because Tatsu's on guard duty and, like, actually serves a useful purpose for once, while still being his character. Like, he was written well for once in that scene. It's like, that scene makes miracles happen. Miracles, I tell you. But anyway, he doesn't first off want his secret about the fact that he actually does stuff like that coming out, but he also doesn't feel like he earned the credit for that. He has this sense of honor that is a much stronger code than I'd ever be able to hold myself to, for one, and also just gives him a lot more depth as a character, and to me hints at something even more tragic happening in his past before just that one group of guys dying to protect him. But hey, we'll never know unless X2 is a prequel, which, don't make it a prequel because we already got a cliffhanger ending. I don't want a cliffhanger prequel ending and then give us X2, please. Regardless of that though, while his personal arc does end with reporting for duty, we can figure out a little bit more about him via his interactions throughout the story and his battle dialogue. Unfortunately, no one's ever datamined X's battle dialogue like's been done for the other two games, which sucks and someone should totally do that, but through it we could see a few things. First off, he is definitely getting his stress out by doing this. His battle quotes are a combination of dry wit and Dunban's general badassitude, but he also gets a lot more riled up and a lot more into it than most other party members expect when he's in a fight. Everyone loves his quotes like, "You messed with the wrong secretary," and "Don't mistake me for some empty suit," which I definitely think is something he finds very important. He believes that leaders should, first off, be good leaders and deserving of their positions, but also not afraid to get their hands dirty and work alongside the people who they lead if it's necessary, and to some degree the other two do have that as well. It's just Nagi has the most of that. But he's also got, "While activating overdrive, now you die, your life is mine. Sorry, not done with you yet. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this if your overdrive counter hits 100. While also saying he works well under pressure and calling himself pathetic if he falls, and still never belittling an ally if they are defeated. Even exiting a Skell, I'll do this with my bare hands if I must. He really likes fighting and gets really, really into it. His hot-bloodedness comes off in his general battle dialogue, but the humor and the compassion definitely comes out in his interactions with other party members. He refers to Blade and everyone in it as a family when talking to Male Cross, and when Female Cross complains about how the Miran winds don't go well with her hair, he'll say that Shosan has similar troubles, which is great because it's a funny joke for someone in his position to make, but it also shows that Shosan, Vandam, and Nagi are genuinely good friends beyond just having to band together to make sure NLA doesn't explode. They're not above taking digs like that at each other, and we can see that in some of their direct interactions, but that's just also just really funny. We've also got him seeming a little vain or just trying to be nice and informing Alexa that he pushed her Skell development budget through. Although Alexa also implies that she bribed him with a bottle of sake, which is, again, pretty hilarious. He also astounds Yelv by using the phrase, "take out the trash," which is good, because Yelv has some good reactions to other party members in general. Fry, he also blows the mind of, because Fry wants to buy him a beer after the fight's over. Nagi wants shots, which I guess goes along with the sake thing, but it's generally funny. He also seems to have a very cordial relationship with Lin. I almost said Jin there, which would have been pretty funny. I'd love to see those two meet. Battle of the Katanas. Throw Dunban in there too. I don't know. But he seems to be somewhat of a surrogate grandfather-ish figure, which makes sense. She lost her parents, so that works. But just all in all, Nagi is a good dude. And this was pretty rambly and not a lot of points being proven or theories. It's just talking about how cool of a dude he is. And I hope I at least got that much through. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, by the end of March, I'll have Patreon out. So, April will be, like, the first month where I actually do that kind of stuff. I need to run it through what a few people think of the rewards and the tiers and all that kind of thing. But, that's coming. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let's see, what's coming soon? Oh yeah! I'm launching a series called Xenobites, which is basically smaller, less edited videos that are less than 10 minutes, or based on things I can't make a 10-minute video out of. The next one for that will be sometime in the middle of next week or the week after. I don't know, I'm pretty busy. It will be on Poddrake. It's going to be the Poddrake video I technically promised in the outro of last time. I don't know. I'm rambling. Until next time, this is Luxin signing off. Bye. That's all I got.